Hello and welcome to the final session of the VIFF Immersed Volumetric Market. You've made it. The last 2 days have been a blast. I've loved all the conversations I've had exploring the ins and outs of volumetric filmmaking. This final session is going to be an opportunity to touch base with some of the projects that presented last year. Last year was not focused on volumetric, but we did have an amazing roster of projects, many of which happened to be volumetric. So we thought we would touch base and get an update from the projects that presented last year that also happened to be volumetric projects. But before we get going, I want to thank our partners, the Province of British Columbia, the Western Economic Diversification Fund, the Canadian Media Producers Association, the Canada Media Fund, Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture Studios, Tetavi, Sense of Space, and EFEV. Thank you to our partners for putting your money and your energy and your support behind this event. It would not be possible without you. And I also always have to thank my amazing event producer, Anna Brzezinska, who seriously did all of this. I did nothing. I just showed up. So thank you, Anna. Really appreciate it. All right, and with that, why don't we get going? We'll start with a project called The Choice. Joanne, can you join us?
Yep. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Hello. Great. How are you? Tired, I guess?
I am tired, but that has more to do with the fact that I've got a little kid who never sleeps and keeps me up all night.
My cat is there sleeping.
Not the same thing.
No.
Why don't you go ahead and share your screen and we can get started.
Okay, so I think I'm ready.
Brilliant.
Okay, should I start?
Please do.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Joanne-Aśka Popińska, and so my project, The Choice, is an interactive, immersive experience, volumetric, and it allows the audience to have a personal conversation with a woman who had an abortion. And the goal of it is to put you in this personal space with her, and through having an interactive conversation that actually mimics talking to a real person, somebody you know, to enhance your understanding of this issue on the human level. And our goal with The Choice is to make you feel truly present with the storyteller. So we actually tested various volumetric technologies and realized that none of them meets our needs, which is feeling that she is there with you and truly present. So we decided to develop our own technology. And for that, in 2018, we ran a Kickstarter campaign that allowed us to work on it. And it's important that we wanted it to be mobile, to be able to film anywhere. And so from then, we spent actually the next 2 years on developing it, making it better, recording test interviews, and also working on the storytelling aspect. So how to tell these stories in a way that is truly powerful. And this is where we were last October. So we had 4 interviews filmed here in Canada, and we realized actually that they all tell a story of a country where abortion is a personal decision, still with some stigma existing, but with pretty much no issue with access to healthcare, even if you are a homeless kid living on the streets, like one of our interviewees. So we knew that we absolutely have to film in the US, where the picture is very, very different. So we have been invited to represent Canada at South by Southwest, and we decided to use this opportunity to actually film the interviews when we were there. And filming in Austin, spoiler alert, COVID made it quite challenging. So we planned to film around 6 interviews with variety of stories. We had them all scheduled, 2 weeks of filming, studio booked, all that. And then South by Southwest got canceled. And we were in Austin with the borders closing within the next 2 or 3 days. And rescheduling everything was quite stressful, probably the most stressful day in my life. And huge thanks here to our producer, Jay, who helped us tremendously. And also the studio was truly amazing. So we had them booked for free and they rescheduled ASAP on Sunday for the next day. I'm truly speechless and thankful. And as a result, we filmed two very different and truly powerful interviews. So this was in March, and then fast forward to May, Kaleidoscope opened their first round of grants for artists. And we actually won in two categories, Fem Futures and Creative Challenge. And it was truly great. We received truly wonderful feedback, lots of support from people, and in a very challenging time. So you all probably remember what was happening in May, in June. So truly, truly thank you. And what's important, on top of the financial support, we also got advisors and collaborators. And I cannot express how helpful it is to have their guidance as well. So with these grants, we then decided to now focus on one interview and to release it as this first chapter for the public. So our next step was creating the branching narrative. This was quite challenging work, as there are actually no tools to work with the branching narrative that have text, audio, and video. And I wanted them all to have them together to be able to test various options, to feel them, to shuffle them, to create branches, to feel how the emotions are changing, all that things. And there is no tools for that, not for the not for this type of the project. So that was challenging. It was a lot of learning for us. But finally, we can say that the huge milestone, we achieved that. And now we are moving to interactive tools that my team actually have programmed for me in Unity, in Bold. So now I can test it in the interactive environment. And this was actually quite a mind-blowing moment for me. So with the very early demo version in this of this interactive dialogue in VR, so I watched it and I thought, okay, this will be neat. This is the goal of the project. I know it all. And then I watched it. I clicked the question and she answered. And this literally blew my mind. How strong is the feeling that she is actually talking to me? That's like truly powerful. We also have started working on other creative parts. Very recently, Zoe, you see her portfolio here, joined us as an illustrator, and she is now creating the art for the project. We are also starting our work on the sound and music, and the development team is building the pipeline for creating the branching narrative in a way that it can be rapidly iterated. So literally last 3 or 4 months have been just crazy busy, lots of milestones hit, and huge progress for us. So what's next? We hope to release this first chapter quite soon. And there is a question where and when, of course, having the pandemic in mind. And this will be first chapter that will make you fully understand our vision and how and why this project speaks to you. So why people are moved and why they cry even with seeing only our short demos. So I believe that watching the full interview with the beautiful art and sound design, it will be truly powerful. And then we, of course, want to work on the full scope project, for which we are very much still looking for the funds. And I have been repeating, unfortunately, for the whole time while working on this project, that it's becoming more and more relevant. It should be the other way, but it's no. So please join us, help us, because the society very much needs to hear these stories. Thank you very much. Yep.
And thank you. What a great update! And I'm so excited about the illustrations. I knew that was always a place in the project that was going to get fleshed out, and I'm really thrilled to see it coming.
Me very much too. Like, I don't want to really reveal too much how they will look, but it's really amazing. It's coming out great.
Yeah, the artist you're working with is top notch. So well done. So thank you very much for the update. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, you had it up on the slide a moment ago, but the best email address is what?
info@tribeofpan.com.
Okay, info@tribeofpan.com. And of course, anyone can get in touch with me and I will route you to her as well. Renee@kaleidoscope.fund. Next up, Akmyrat and Christina. Do you want to join us?
Hi, Renee. How are you?
I'm good. Always better when I see your face.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you too. It's been a while.
Too long, I know. Last year, I was just coming out of hibernation after taking a lot of time off of work after having our son, and it was so much fun, and I miss it terribly. 1 year later, here we are, so far apart. But anyways, thank you for joining us. Let's share your presentation and get it underway.
Sounds great. Okay.
And whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Akmyrat, and I'm from Turkmenistan. I'm presenting 1991, a room-scale virtual reality documentary about how after the collapse of the Soviet Union, my country Turkmenistan decided to ban classical music, and how that affected my father, Suhan Tuyliyev, a composer who couldn't compose music for 20 years. The experience starts in the post-Soviet Turkmenistan in 1991, right after the collapse of the USSR. That year, I was born to my father, whose career was just reaching its peak. During this year, in an attempt to reclaim the roots of the country, the first president of Turkmenistan decided to ban any art forms containing Western influences. He shut down the national orchestra, opera, and ballet. My father's artistic oxygen was suddenly cut off. For 20 years, he couldn't compose music and thus fell into a deep depression. This project is extremely close to my heart. It's about my dad, and I'm trying to go back and process what it must have been like for him to go through this experience. This is a human story about being silenced by the taboos surrounding depression and mental health, as well as the effects of censorship by oppressive leaderships. More importantly, this is a story about resilience and how my father is able to compose again. We have broken down the story into 5 acts. First act manifests in a physical projection mapped recreation of my father's office. In the first chapter, that will serve as an onboarding area, and we will learn more about the collapse and introduced to me and my sister Maya. In the second act, we enter my dad's office in VR, where we dive into the memories of his children, reflecting on the effects of the collapse that had on our family. In the third act, the ghost of the disbanded orchestra will appear performing my dad's music to haunt him, representing 20 years of depression and the ban of music. This will be made possible with depth-kit volumetric capture. The last 2 acts transitioned into our present day. In 2010, the second president rescinded the ban on music, and my dad started composing again. My sister Maya, now a world-class pianist, enters the room to perform my dad's piece, the first piece, actually, that he's been able to compose since he's come out of his depression. It's a piano sonata about human struggle and celebration of life. During the performance, a virtual painting of an ancient Turkmen tale will appear, telling a story about how music can heal. A diverse set of technologies are utilized throughout the experience. My father's office will be recreated as a projection mapped physical space, as well as a room-scale VR space built in Unity. We're using volumetric capture system, as I mentioned, depth-kit. And this past January, right before the pandemic hit everyone, I was able to actually travel home to Turkmenistan, where I captured the National Orchestra of Turkmenistan. I captured nearly 70 musicians, one by one, performing my dad's piece called Bentler, which has not been performed for 30 years. The last time it was performed was 1989. Music and performance are integral parts of the story, and we will be using spatial audio throughout the experience, for which I've been able to also capture the orchestra with over 13 different microphones. These interactive documentaries pushing the limits of experiential storytelling by moving between installation elements, 3D painting, and volumetric video. I have an incredibly passionate team working on this project. We have creative technologists. We have a professional Broadway experienced set designer. Here are the creative leads of the project. Chris is the co-director of the experience, and both of us have experiences creating interactive VR pieces. I did For Daniels, which was actually published by the Museum of Other Realities. Chris's VR film, Wild Eastern, debuted at Next March to Film at Cannes Film Festival in 2018. Here are our current producers working on the project. We are working alongside 2 award-winning studios. Scatter recently came on board as an executive producer, and Sensorium has been producing on the project since 2017. We're currently in the process of organizing the massive amounts of data collected from the trip to Turkmenistan, which, beyond organizing over 100 depth-kit takes with musicians, I also have to translate interviews with my father. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Immediate steps is to process the volumetric data of the performance. We recently won Kaleidoscope Transformation Grant, which will immensely help with that work. This past April, my sister Maya and her duet partner, Diana Sates, were supposed to actually perform 2 of my dad's music pieces at Carnegie Hall, both of which are included in the VR experience. Unfortunately, due to COVID, their Carnegie Hall performance was canceled, but it is rescheduled for now until April 2021. Although we hope to finish the project by then, the Carnegie Hall performance will be one of our major milestones to activate around this project. We're grateful to be back at VIFF. Last year, we were honored to be included and we received immense support from the community. They have provided immense feedback on the pitches, and we've stayed in touch with some of other presenters and of course, Renee. This time around, we would love to connect with potential partners to help us get to the finish line with the gap of our budget. 1991 is a human story about being silenced by the taboo surrounding depression and mental health, and the effects of censorship on the citizens by oppressive leaderships. As I mentioned, I went home for a month, and after spending some time with my father and talking about his experiences, it really hit home how similar our stories are. He was not able to compose music for Turkmenistan for 20 years, and in parallel, I actually will not be able to show this documentary back home either. It would be putting me and my family in danger. My father's experience is an intimate look into universal stories that I can definitely relate to, and I believe a lot of us can definitely relate to as well. This is exactly why we want to create this experience, to make space for people to learn about the importance of freedom of expression and to be able to heal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making this. Such a good piece. What do you feel like is the one thing that you need the most right now, besides obviously money?
I think we have an incredibly supportive team. One of the things that I know we need is dedicated developers who can help us push this to the next level. And developers cost a lot of money. I think at the moment it's incredibly hard, and a lot of people are in a tough position. So I especially now want to make sure that people are being compensated properly. So with the work that people would be doing, I know I already have 2 developers, Nov and Nico, are doing incredible work, but I know that they need help, and I know that they all deserve to be compensated. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And then hopefully, if we are, who knows what the future looks like, but if we are able to create a physical installation, we would love to get support to be able to build that space out and get support for that. I'm currently also talking with Johns Hopkins, Cornell University, not Johns Hopkins, about potential grants for the installation side of things. But yeah, I think developers are probably the gold right now. So
yeah. Great.
Yeah.
You mentioned it in your slide, I think, but what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
People can definitely get in touch with us through Kaleidoscope. That's one of the best ways to reach us. But also, if you'd like to reach us via email, you can reach out to Akmyrat, which is my first name, AKMYRAT, @nyu.edu.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, Akmyrat, Christina, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing this project and for continuing to push the boulder up the mountain. It feels like you're close to the top, and I can't wait for audiences to start to experience it. Next up, we have Nathalie. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hi. Sorry, my lighting is not so good here.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and we can go to the races.
Yeah. You see it?
I can see it.
Okay.
But go for the full screen mode so we can.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
There we go. Beautiful.
So I presented last year Wallada, which is a room scale VR experience that's really focusing on creativity and resilience. It's interesting. The previous one was also about resilience, and it seems to become, the more I talk to people, that we are all living through collective trauma, that we really need creativity and resilience. So this project I have been developing. Oh, I thought there was, okay, I'm missing one slide, but that's okay. This project I've been developing for a couple years right now. It originally got a grant from the French government, the CNC in Paris, at least for the writing and the development. It's the story that is pretty unique of the famous poetess and political figure and lover who lived 1,000 years ago in Andalusia, which at the time was an Arab caliphate. And they were in Spain for 700 years. So it's part of the history of Europe that many people ignore. And the reason I was fascinated with her story is that she was a pretty badass woman that was very independent for her time. And she was also living at a special time where the entire caliphate fell down and broke down, and she had to face civil war, the massacre of her family, and among all of that, she lived an incredible life and was able to be very creative. So that's our story, and I want the participant in this experience to be able to experience also their own limits, their own creativity, and their own resilience. So this is very important that this is interactive and not just a movie. Over the past year, I've been focusing more on the content development and doing less fundraising because really this was not the year. I had to take a full-time job. And so I focused a lot on interactive design, research, game design, what makes something compelling and engaging, and how do you develop a relationship with a character. I watched some inspiring VR experiences at the online VR festivals this year, like the Book of Distance or The Key, or more recently Bodiless. And I'm really focusing on trying to have a very fluid interaction between the moments that are interactive and the moments that are more, with narration. And that's something, it's like a choreography both in space and time, and it's not obvious to do. The good news is that I was able to have 3 new people on my team, and I will tell a little bit more. And then I was able to work with a studio and then an independent developer to start developing the prototype and also record the voiceover for Wallada. So that's, trying to make progress on the prototype. I didn't list the previous team members. This is more an update. So Soraya, I actually met after I did the presentation in Vancouver last year because she's a member of Kaleidoscope and she's a classically trained calligrapher, Arab calligrapher. So this was really important to be able to draw those poems in space. And she has used steel brush before, which was perfect. And she got interested in the project and contacted me. And then there is also a scholar of medieval Arab poetry that has helped to find some of the original poems in Arab because I had translations and do better translations, and is with Cambridge University in the UK. And lastly, I've been working with an independent Unity developer to work on this prototype. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a short video, which is very, very rough. I cannot have the music because since this is, we have some licensing limitations. And the graphics and, the visuals are not what I want them to be last, but at least this is to give you some idea. And hopefully you get the sound. Do you get the sound? Yeah, okay. So this is the statue of the lovers in Cordoba that was scanned in photogrammetry, and then we put it into, and when you touch the hands, Wallada is going to appear.
Andalusian princess.
And this is not the right model. This is where we are going to use volumetric video. And she invites you to follow her into the mosque of Cordoba, which we also scanned in photogrammetry. And this is the beautiful mosque of Cordoba, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Monument that you will be able to explore and have more interactive scenes in volumetric video happening.
It attracts poets, intellectuals, and artists of all religions. Schools are free, and its library houses hundreds of thousands of books. Civil war broke out, and the Berber enemy looted, burned, and exterminated for 4 years. My entire family was massacred. My father poisoned, my mother hung, my uncle, cousin, deported. I remain the only heir of the Umayyad.
So the idea here is more to show the change of graphic style that we are going to have once the trauma happens. You know, you are really into a different world where things are going to be much more rough and floating, and you have to figure out a way to like recover from trauma. So the two different very realistic and graphic style are very important. And again, this is not the final look. This is just to give you an idea. So in terms of the funding, unfortunately, we got rejected from every VR market or grant that we applied to last year. So I kind of, slow down on that. I did talk to a few co-producers and potential studios, and actually through one of them, that's how I got the developer. So that's a little progress. And most of it has been otherwise, fully self-funded because I have no other choice at this point. So we are still looking for co-producers. We are still looking for funding. And of course, distribution partners, museums, digital art galleries, etc. So that's kind of the update.
Wonderful. Well, Nathalie, thank you so much for your update on your project. I'm always impressed by your perseverance, and I think that is the defining characteristic of anyone who succeeds in any venture. Whenever the pandemic opens up, my wife and we like getting tattoos, and I'm going to get perseverance tattooed on me, and you should get that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Great project. I love the subject matter of it, and I know that you'll get it across the finish line. So with this presentation, VIFF Immersed Volumetric Market concludes all of our sessions. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to watch all these talks and these presentations. I highly encourage you to download the Museum of Other Realities if you have not already, and check out these works. It's an amazing exhibition, both of the projects that are in development as well as the projects that are completed, as well as the official exhibition curated by Storytech Immersive. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to get a cup of coffee and put on a headset and see you in VR. All right. Cheers, everyone.